Hey guys, welcome back to the Calvinist Contradiction. Today we're here with another episode of Where is Calvinism? Reformed Theology, Doctrines of Grace, whatever flavor you want to call it today in the opening narrative of the Bible. We've gone 44 chapters now into the biblical narrative, and we still haven't seen it. Again, we believe that if it is the true interpretive method for reading scriptures, then it would be clearly, coherently, consistently taught in the text. And whether that's been the case or not, you can go back and look at the 44 videos that we've made so far, and you can decide. But first, we just want to say thank you for your comments, even the salty ones, even the ones that are, more angry in nature. We thank you for them, even if we don't agree. We do believe that a lot of these comments that are more hostile are a great example of, the Calvinist contradiction. Because why are you Calvinists? Why are you Reformed people? This is an honest and a sincere question. If everything is predestined meticulously by God, why are you sitting here, writing uh, even if it took you 2 minutes, why are you taking 2 minutes out of your life to buck at the determined, preordained, will of God in our lives? So if He has predetermined me before the foundation of the world to make these videos, why are you, oh Calvinist, oh man, oh clay, oh woman, bucking at that determination? And who are you to be able to do that? And what would be your point of doing that? What is your point of getting people or asking people to choose determinism? Which, if you want to check that out, look at the video on choosing determinism, which we just did. And literally, a Calvinist is in there. Um, Trying to convince people that determinism is the thing that you must choose. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why this channel exists, is to talk about these things and try to show people that the echo chamber is wrong. And if you just keep on repeating that you keep on repeating a lie, the lie doesn't change no matter how many times you repeat it and how many people believe it. And so, thank you. Please pray with us for this next month as we have a housing campaign going on. We are getting kicked out of this house that we've been in this country that we've lived in for 10 years. This is the second time we're getting kicked out of a house in 3 years because of the crippling economy, because of immigration, and a lot of people coming here from other parts of the world who are paying overprice here. And so it's just thrown off our whole economy. Please pray for us as we're trying to raise the money to buy a house to uh, in the city where we pastor at. And so please pray about that. Also pray about supporting this channel, which is supporting our family, again, living in this country, which helps us to, we're a crowd-funded ministry. And so every little bit helps, even if it's, the tiniest amount, even if it's $1.99, it helps. It goes, because the more people that help, the more we're able to do. And we do this all pro bono, obviously. Also, we have a book that came out. We're really proud of it. It's about the roots of the Trinity in the Old Testament, so it really doesn't have anything to do with Calvinism. Calvinist, a Arminian, a provisionalist, whoever can read this and say amen, because it's all about just how we can find the roots of the Trinity in the Old Testament, and it's wrapped around Christmas in an Advent devotional. You can get that by clicking on the link below, as well as giving in all those other things which we mentioned. You can also click to go to Genesis 45, where we'll be here today. I'm thinking about doing this video a little bit different, so we're going to read straight through the text. And then I'm going to come back and comment on some things, okay? Because we have in this text something where I know the Calvinists are going to say, gotcha, see, it's there. It took us 45 chapters to get there, but there it is. Actually, they were all banking on 50. We have in the comments, get to 50, get to 50. I would say, generally, context isn't the biggest, the highest thing on the Calvinists' interpretive method, from my own estimation, from the Calvinists that I have talked with, whether they're true Calvinists, whether they're just reformed, whether they're 5-3-1 pointers or no pointers in name, but just, affiliate. I'm not trying to say who you are. I'm saying by talking with these people, they usually take text out of context. And I'm talking to the guy who just left a comment, or girl, on the last video, basically ripping three verses out of Acts 4 and saying, "This proves everything." And that's what we're gonna say is, you can take these verses and you can run with them and say they're Calvinistic in nature, but we're going to turn around, we're going to say actually they're not, and we're going to look at the Bible in its ancient Near Eastern context as literature. Especially, that's, I think, the literature part like just destroys Calvinism, because when you take out a piece of text out of its literary context and you try to make it something like a proof text or something, and you strip all the literary context off of it, uh, you're missing this massive part. And so when we come back and we plug it back into that literary context, it just destroys Calvinism, because you're saying, well, the obviously the writers ascribe to who's doing what in times we know what's going on. We'll talk about that in a minute. So let's jump in. It says, this is coming off the back of 44. I'll read the last sentence there. For how shall I go up to my father if the lad is not with me, for fear that I see evil that would overtake my father? That's Judah talking, coming back without Benjamin, which is what um, Joseph had said that he wanted to happen. And so then Joseph could not control. Oh, then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood before him. Now, I'm just going to give you, I'll show my cards here to what we're going to get into here in a minute, but this is really powerful because Joseph could not control. Now, if it was a deterministic worldview like we're supposed to believe, and all the Calvinists try to, uh, you know, convince us to choose to believe, and then it should say, in its literary context, then when God couldn't control Joseph, or when God couldn't control Joseph, God made him cry. Because we have these things that are pointing to who's doing what in time and space. And so we're going to go through that in a minute, but just this is a good point for when we get down there. So then Joseph, who could not control himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried, having everyone go out from him. So there was no man with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard of it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, please come closer. And they came closer, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, to whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourself because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. There it is. Calvinism's true because 45 chapters into the Bible, we have something that is, that is said. Hasn't been plainly, coherently, consistently taught at all, but we're supposed to take a systematic that was created thousands of years later and place them back onto the text without its literary context at all, I guess, is what every Calvinist is probably rejoicing at right now who's listening to this. But we'll come back to this, okay? Because I just wanted to read through it. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there is still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me before to preserve for you a remnant in the earth and to keep you alive by great deliverance. Now, therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his household and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all of Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. You shall live in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children's children, and your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. There I will also provide for you. There are still 5 years of famine to come, and you and your household uh, and all that you have will be impoverished. Behold, your eyes see, and The eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth which is speaking to you. Now you must tell my father of all my splendor in Egypt and all that you have seen, and you must hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept on them. And afterwards his brothers talked with him. Now, when the news was heard in Pharaoh's house that Joseph's brothers had come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants. And the Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go to the land of Canaan and take your father and your household and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat of the fat of the land. Now, you are ordered, do this: take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father to come. Do not concern yourself with the goods of the best of all the lands of Egypt is yours." Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. To his father he sent as followed: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and sustenance for his father on the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, "Do not quarrel on your journey." Then they went up from Egypt and came to the land of Canaan, and their father Jacob. They told him, saying, "Joseph is still alive, and indeed he is ruler over all the land of Egypt." But he was stunned, for he did not believe them when they told him all the words of Joseph that he had spoken to them. And then he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him. The spirit of their father Jacob revived. Then Israel said, "It is enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Okay, so we're through that. So I want to read the whole thing. I wanted to jump back in here after we did it. We really haven't done it this far. Usually I go through it. But because we have this, you know, what's going to be seemingly Calvinistic part in here, 2 parts actually. I wanted to read it all through, straight through, so you could hear the whole context when we read it, and now go back and look. So we said we're going to look at this with a literary eye. I just did a Christian radio show the other day promoting my new book, and they asked me, "What is the most transformational thing you've ever learned?" And I said, "Reading the Bible in its original context," because uh, I've seen how powerful it is and how you can it really ferrets out bad theology when you place it back into the original context. And I said, and why? Because we do this with every other piece of literature, every other thing that we engage with. So um I'm reading Dracula right now. I'm about to go to Romania. We're going to go to Bran's castle and see it because it's one of my favorite books. You guys probably know that because of how I talk about Calvinism reduces God to this reduces Jesus to a vampiric God where he has to rape, kill, and destroy people for his own glory, like Dracula does. He sucks life, he sucks substance out of people to be um, to live, and that's the antichrist because Christ sheds his blood to give life to all. And so it's sucking life of everybody to gain is the Dracula vampiric god of Calvinism in my determination. But Jesus truly lays down his life in sacrifice. And as I'm reading through this, he's susceptible to crosses and crucifixes and stuff like that. And it's because of the belief that Dracula doesn't want to die. He wants to live forever. And so the one who would lay down his life, he's scared of, in the power there of the cross and those kind of things. But when we're reading these books, literature, we don't ever think that behind everything there's this puppet master. Well, whoa, wait, you can't say that, or Calvinists they'll freak out. There's a potter behind everything, controlling everything. So you wouldn't read Dracula and say, actually, God is controlling Dracula to eat babies and suck. This is literally Calvinism, okay? So in Dracula, he gets babies and he eats them, he feeds them to his minions. And the woman, she's crying, and then he has the wolves come and eat her, and he's just a horrible guy. He's not this, suave heartthrob like he is today. He is literally the Antichrist. And no one who's reading this book is saying God is behind this, meticulously controlling Dracula to do this for his own glory to boot. But like John Piper says on or like on John Piper's website, states this quote, as unimaginable as it may seem to us today, from the killings of Dennis Rader, who literally murdered people and ate people just like Dracula, to the death camps at Birkenau and Auschwitz, where they killed millions of Jews, millions of kids, and then to the rape of young children, sexual abuse of young children. It's not God allowing these things, it's God doing these things for his own glory. So there's the connection for you. The vampiric God of Calvinism, sucking the life out for his own glory. We would never say this is true in Calvin, in the Book of Dracula. We would never do that with the Christmas Carol. We don't ever think that Ebenezer's, greed, his avarice, I think it is, all these things, that his malice, and the way he kicks people out on Christmas Eve, the orphans out on Christmas Eve, all these things, we never sit there and say that's really God doing it behind the scenes, meticulously controlling this to happen for his own glory, because we're reading it as literature. And guess what? This book is the best piece of literature that's ever been created. So let's look at this. We're going to look at who is ascribed to what actions by the biblical authors as literature, so that we know who's doing what in the story. And you're going to come away with a different conclusion than, God's just controlling all of this for his own glory. So we have, when in control, meticulous control. Keep that in mind, especially with this first verse, when Joseph could not control himself. So why wouldn't it say, when God could not control himself, he made Joseph do this? Or when God made Joseph not be able to control himself, God made him weep. They could have done that. They would have done that if that's how we're supposed to interpret it. But that's not how it is. God made him cry. And when Joseph, it says, and then he made Joseph make himself known to his brothers. He made Joseph weep so loudly that the Egyptians heard. But it doesn't say any of that. It says, when Joseph made himself known, when he wept. It says, then Joseph said, but it would say, if it was supposed to be meticulously controlled, then God made Joseph say. Or, for they were dismayed, like it says in the text, it would say, for God made them dismayed. Then Joseph said, it would say, then God made Joseph say, and they came closer, and God made them come closer. And he said, and God made him say, but all of this is missing. It doesn't say this anywhere, because you're not supposed to draw this conclusion. And they came closer. Oh, wait. And then he says, to whom you sold, I am your brother, to whom God made you sell. No, it doesn't say that. To whom you sold into, uh, Egypt. Now, do not be grieved. Now, God, don't make them grieved, or don't make them angry with themselves. But it doesn't say that. Do not be grieved. Do not be angry with yourself, because you sold me here. Do not do this. God, do not do this. Why doesn't it say, God, do not do this? Do not make them angry, for they sold me here. For you sent me before them to preserve life. It doesn't say that. It's ascribing here to God what he actually did. He's taking the situation and he brought him to Egypt to preserve life. So they're ascribing, and we all can say, Calvinists and us, God definitely did this. But that doesn't mean that God made Joseph not be able to control himself, because it would have said that. Why does it say it here, but it doesn't say it in any other places? And that's what we keep on saying, is that you're taking one thing that's true, that God is sovereign and God has predestined certain things. Absolutely. Nobody's arguing with that. But to, extend that to God rapes, he kills, he destroys for his own glory, everything meticulously is far more than a stretch. It's making God a Dracula vampiric entity who's sucking life for his own glory. And we don't believe that because it would have said, we have the word control. We've had this before where we looked at this. Joseph could not control. Well, if God's ultimately in control, when God made Joseph not be able to control himself, it's not what we see here. It says, what else do we have here? God sent me before to preserve you and you a remnant in the earth and to keep you alive by great deliverance. Now, therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father of Pharaoh and Lord of all the household and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Amen. Everybody can agree that. This is ascribed to God. This part is ascribed to God. He brought him there and he made him all these things. But then look what the literal next sentence is: hurry and go up. Why doesn't it say, now God's going to make you hurry and go up there? He's commanding. What's the point of a command? Because we're going to see you're ordered or you're commanded to. But we ask this question all the time, and it's just radio silence from the Calvinists. What is the point of ordering? What is the point of commanding when God meticulously controls all things? What's the point of persuading? What's the point of we get Calvinists on here all the time trying to persuade us to choose determinism. And it's just the craziest thing ever. It's literally insane. It's so contradictory. It's so ironic, really, that people sit there and they'll get angry because they want you to choose determinism. They get angry at abortion, where really that's just God getting his jollies off on murdering babies from the womb and predestining them to hell before they did anything right or wrong, according for his own glory, according to their systematic proper. Okay, this is why we get angry at this, because it turns God from the salvific king who lays down his life for all. Romans 5:10, his blood is poured out for all for the propitiation of all sins ever. And he that's what he does. He does it. He provides that for him, and it turns him into, nope, I need to suck the life. I need to murder babies in the womb. I need to eat people, as Jeffrey Dahmer, as John Piper's website Desiring God says. He needs to rape young children so that he gets glory. I can't make it any more clear for you guys how it's a vampiric entity that is being at least postulated by this Calvinistic thought when it's fully, carried out to its logical conclusion. And says, say to him. Well, when God makes you say to him, again, what's the point of this? You shall live. God will make you live, right? You shall be near me. God is going to make you near me. I will also provide for you. God will make me also provide for you, but it's not in there. You and your household, you and your household. What's it say? You and your household and all that you have would be impoverished. God will make you impoverished. But all of that's missing. The fact that it would really be God meticulously controlling this is nowhere in this text. It's not saying that anywhere. So to deduce this from the text where it's not stated is erroneous. That's why we're looking at it. That's why when we look at, again, Ebenezer, that's when we look at Jonathan and these things. Even take the Marvel cinematic or the Marvel universe. When we look at Spider-Man, we're not thinking, oh, God's really doing this behind the. No, Spider-Man's doing it. We need to look at this as literature, which I don't know why a Calvinist wouldn't anyway, because it's just like every other. It's just like the back of the toilet paper. It's not inspired and effectual unto salvation. It's not inspired to be able to do anything. And that's the U in TULIP. Unconditional election. Doesn't matter if you read this. Doesn't matter if you ascribe to this. Doesn't matter if you pledge your allegiance to anything. It doesn't matter because it would be a condition and it's unconditional and it's bogus. Right? And so now you must tell your father. Well, now God must make you. Again, a command. What's the point of these things? All that you have seen. Well, God's going to make you tell him all that you have seen. And you must hurry. Well, why? It's meticulously controlled. They can only get there when they're gonna get there, right? What's the urgency? What's the point of an urgency? It doesn't make any sense. And bring my father down here. Then he fell. Then when God made him fall on his neck, no. Of his brother Benjamin, no. And wept. And when God made him weep, no. And Benjamin wept. When God made Benjamin wept, no, doesn't say that. He kissed all of his brothers. No, God made him kiss all of his brothers. Never says that. And afterwards, his brothers talked with him. After then, God made his brothers talk with him. Never says that. So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants when he heard of all this. You mean God made Pharaoh pleased and all of his servants? Then God made Pharaoh say to Joseph, say to your brothers. Then God made Pharaoh say, God's making you say to your brothers? No. It gets ridiculous when you think about this. That's not what it is. Do this and load up your beast. Again, we could just do this all day. And God commands Pharaoh to command the brothers to load up their beasts. No, it doesn't say that. There's no point of even thinking of it that way. Take your father. God will make you take your father. So here's the other part that we wanted to talk about. Is now you are ordered. Now God meticulously controls Pharaoh to say, now you are ordered, even though God meticulously controlled them to do whatever it is in the first place, it will make your head explode. Maybe that's why Calvinists don't think about it enough. Maybe they'll have like a brain aneurysm or something like that. I don't know. Actually, that's being a little facetious there. It's because the echo chamber never talks about these things. They don't talk about the Bible in its proper context. Proven 100 times on the channel. Just jump to Genesis 50. Well, we've done it our way. We chose, Calvinists, to do it our way. Even though you tried to persuade us to just jump to 50, we said no. We're going to read it in context. We're going to see if it's here. It wasn't. So no, there's no wonder, there's no great mystery of why they wanted to jump to it. There's no great mystery of why dude on the comments earlier jumps right into the middle of chapter 4. And he doesn't mention chapter 4 of Acts. He doesn't mention it's a prayer that's being talked about there. It doesn't mention, he doesn't mention the context. He doesn't mention the, immediate context. He doesn't mention anything about a literary context. He just takes it out of its context, strips it naked of everything, and then he just redresses it as it's supposed to be Calvinist, and it's always been Calvinist ever since. Even though Calvin, even though Augustine, he's the father of Calvinism, and it's just Gnosticism wrapped back up with the demiurge being, God and God being the devil. That's basically what it boils down to. And I'm not saying that you Calvinists all ascribe to that. I'm saying if you did ascribe to that, then you must repent and you must believe who God truly is, not the fake Jesus of Gnosticism, not the fake Jesus of Calvinism proper. And I'm not saying anybody out there is subscribing to that. I'm saying when you look at the demiurge of Gnosticism and you look at Augustine bringing that over, and then you have the devil who is just really obedient to God's meticulous control. So he's greater than God, right? He's not doing anything evil, he's just being obedient. And then you have God raping and killing and destroying for his own glory. Here, you've just switched the slots and you have Gnosticism proper under the guise of Calvinism. And I'm not saying that all you Calvinists believe that. You probably haven't ever been told that. The echo chamber doesn't want you to hear this. That's why this channel exists. So, what is the point of being ordered to do something in a meticulous, controlled, deterministic worldview? Absolutely nothing. And the Bible makes no sense here. No sense. Again, it will hurt your brain to think about these things, but just think about that. God predestined um, Pharaoh to order the sons of Jacob to go and get him, even though that's already predestined and written before the foundation of the world that he's going to come down anyway. We are not puppets. We are not robots. Just keep telling yourself that. Like your, puppet masters in the Calvinistic systematic want you to say, I guess. I don't know how else to say it more clearly. Then the sons of Israel did so. So then God made the sons of Israel obey the order that he predetermined Pharaoh to give to them, so that they would not heed that at all, but just do what God said anyway. No, it just said, then the sons of Israel did so. In literary, when we look at that, sons of Israel made a decision. We've been ordered. We're going. We're getting. We're doing. That's it. Joseph gave them wagons. God made Joseph give them, not there. According to the command of Pharaoh. What's the point of a command? What's the point of the order? I want to hear from you, Calvinists. Write in the description, in the comment section, and tell us what's the point of a command. Well, we just need to be faithful. That's what they tell us with, praying. That's what they tell us, I guess, with sharing the gospel, because we're commanded to do so. Well, why are you commanded? This is where the chicken and the egg thing happens. If you're commanded to do something, what's the point of the commandments? To follow them, right? To make a decision to follow these things, but you don't have any decision making power in the first place. So what's the point of them? Well, God's a megalomaniac. He is narcissistic. He is, schizophrenic. I guess under the Calvinistic systematic, these things are true. A megalomaniac murders babies, send them to hell before they did anything right or wrong. But I thought that love is patient and love is kind and love doesn't hold on to the wrongs of everybody. Not under the Calvinistic systematic. He holds every wrong ever. And he holds you accountable to those things before you even did them, is under the Calvinistic systematic. You are condemned to hell. You have a miscarriage, you abort your baby, they're gone to hell off of nothing that they ever did, unless they were, unconditionally elected before the foundation of the world. Then you get stuck in the systematics, trap that then you have people in heaven who don't know who Jesus is, which is, when I say this can happen under the systematic. People freak out. They say, nobody believes that. Well, because you guys never critically thought about it, honestly. If it's unconditional and we're taking you at your word, there's no condition. That's what sets you apart from us. There's no condition. You don't need to proclaim Christ. You don't need to do anything, because it's unconditionally elected before the foundation of the world, and you ever did anything, then obviously you could live your life, die, never have known Jesus, and you end up there because there's no surety of salvation. It's not you're placing your allegiance into something like we believe. It's none of that. So I don't even think I need to go on here, because there's nothing else. There's nothing else to say here. Like, to his fathers he sent. Well, you mean when God had him sent to his father? No, it doesn't say that. So he sent his brothers away. So God made him send his brothers away, but the biblical author didn't write it. But you're supposed to think that way? No. He says, do not quarrel on the journey. What's this persuasion? What's this command? What is this kind of stuff? Calvinists, we're looking at you to give us, answers that are coherent. We are looking for answers that are consistent, and we're looking for answers that are clearly taught in the scriptures. And we can just save you a bunch of time. We can save you looking, ridiculous in your own systematic by trying to persuade, or argue even, or convince in a deterministic worldview to choose your determinism. We can just save you all that and say, just drop the systematic, get a tenable systematic. Love you guys, and we say this out of love, because God is not Dracula. He is not vampiric, and he doesn't need to hurt, kill, destroy for his own glory. Okay? He doesn't need to do that. Those things are anti-Christ, anti what God wants. So we love you guys. We're saying this out of love. This channel is out of love for you Calvinists, for you Reformed guys, for non-Reformed people, because we love everybody. So thank you for watching, and we'll be back maybe tomorrow. I'll have time to just do another one because I won't be around next week. Like I said, we're going to Romania. We're going to a conference where we get to be poured into, because we pour out a lot here. We don't get poured into a lot. So we've been invited to a conference to be poured into, and it's literally right next to Dracula's castle. So we're going to go on down there and see Bram Stoker's castle. Actually, it's just nicknamed Dracula's castle. And so pray for my family. We're all kind of ill. We're trying to get better. It's my oldest's birthday on Sunday, and then we're going on Tuesday. So love you guys. We will talk to you soon for another episode of The Calvinist Contradiction.